So M3GAN 2.0 is the sequel to the previous film M3GAN, in which a killer AI inside a little girl gets revenge in protecting the one girl that she wants to be friends with. Now, the last film was definitely a mixture of sci-fi and horror, and this latest film is definitely it leans a lot more into the sci-fi, and not just because it gives M3GAN a little bit of like a makeover, and not just because it has a few more robot nods to, in the designs, there's definite nods to stuff like Metropolis, and there's one issue of like heavy, I forget who designed it, but there's one issue of Heavy Metal that you look at one of the robot designs, it's like, okay, I have that issue. In fact, I do have that issue over on the wall here. I just can't get it. So yeah, this film definitely does lean more into sci-fi, on more sci-fi than horror, and not just because it's PG-13. I mean, the last one was PG-13, but also the very concept of the film revolves more around AI and turning M3GAN into an unlikely ally. So it's very much the Terminator 2 route. And I think that's kind of the more interesting aspect of the film. Is like, I like the way how M3GAN comes into this plot, because they establish that she really has to like carry this film. Like I do love the fact that like M3GAN has a biting personality. How she went from this kind of mindless serving automaton into basically a woman with like her own bite and her own snark to her, and her own personality. So I loved her when they established her in the first film, and the second film, it has more of her charm and her bite, and they have of course same people here back reprising her role here of Amy Donald doing the performance here, and Jenna Davis doing the voice, both putting on a miraculous performance where, you love this character. You never feel like you're seeing a very clunky AI character. So the entire plot of this film is basically that M3GAN is called back into action from like her dark shadows of technology, because there is a new AI on the block called Amelia, which stands for Autonomous Military Engagement, Logistics, Infiltration Androids, just so they can get Amelia in there. She's played by Ivana Sakno. And it's basically, they thought she was going to be a weapon for the U.S., but she's gone rogue, and she's going to end up destroying the rest of the world if she gets her hands on more AI technology. So it's basically M3GAN, bartering to like get a new body so that she can go on the hunt for this other AI. And I do like their tactics in this film, the way how both like Amelia and M3GAN are smart enough to know how to manipulate everything from traffic lights to video to voice, and it had a lot more of that smart angle of like of a very intelligent AI that I felt was missing from the Mission Impossible movies as an antagonist. Because like the last Mission Impossible movie, it's an AI that was just going to launch nukes, and that was it. And this AI actually has a much more complex plan to basically learn more about itself and want to control a world which they feel, has birthed them and they want to take ownership of. So it's a unique story on that angle, and I think the problem is it leaves a lot of the human characters in the dust here, that it kind of just reduces them to being way more cartoonish than they were in the first film. Like you have Allison Williams returning as Gemma, the roboticist, who worked on M3GAN in the previous film, and she kind of has a little bit of an interesting role here. She kind of wants to get away from technology, but also kind of work with it. So she has a bit of a mixed relationship with it, the same way that she has a mixed relationship with M3GAN when she decides to work with her again. But we don't really explore much of her, so it just kind of reduces her to just like, oh, she has like smartphones here and there, but she'll work with the robotics company, so it kind of reduces her on that angle. Katie, her niece, Gemma's niece that she's taking care of once again here, played by Violet McGraw. She's also kind of reduced to just being way into martial arts and secretly trying to be more into technology, and that's pretty much it for her character. I mean, it gives her stuff to do, and I think that's pretty much the framework that a lot of the human characters fit in with this film. It's just that it's busy work for them to do before we can get to like another cool sequence of M3GAN doing her own martial arts or her cool tech stuff, and just brutalizing people whenever she can get the chance. And I'm not kidding when I say it leads into the Terminator 2 logic. Like, they pretty much rebuild M3GAN and say, look, you can't kill, and we're going to force you not to kill. So very much Terminator 2 angle. I'm surprised, honestly, that they didn't like do kind of like a little bit more of like a reference. There's a few like little nods here and there, but for the most part, I will say I do like that the film does keep a focus on M3GAN and her snark, as opposed and the fact that they keep the references more visual in the background instead of just having like winking nods here and there. But like I said, the big problem, a lot of the human characters get lost in the dust, and you reduce a lot of them to just being way too simplistic. Like you have Gemma's new boyfriend of Christian, played by Aristotle Athari, who, you know, he's smart, but they kind of set him up for a little bit of a twist that they don't really develop that much. It's just kind of meant to be more left field. And then you have Jermaine Clements, who is just a full-on cartoon character in this. He's playing a tech billionaire called Alton Appleton, who basically fancies himself like he has like nanotechnology, and he boasts about how much control he has, and of course he becomes like an easy target for Amelia, mostly just because, yeah, he's a horny slime ball and a big egotist who's very easy to manipulate into the bedroom and steal all of his secrets. And you can clearly tell that, yeah, like Clements is trying to play up this character to be pretty much like Elon Musk. But honestly, when I was listening to him and the kind of performance he was putting on, I kind of got like Tim Curry vibes. Just there's something about his voice and inflection with like his beard and everything, where it kind of made me think of like Tim Curry for just a few lines, not a lot, but it's very clear he's trying to do a mockery of Elon Musk here, more in like appearance and ego. Honestly, I kind of feel more like Christian in this film is a little bit more of like a satire of Elon Musk in terms of like his intention and cadence. So it's kind of like a fusion of the two of them, which I guess is not really a ringing endorsement of the film, the way that it kind of almost has to like splinter characters off into like very specific roles here, and just kind of sidelines them all just so that we can get to the next cool fight with M3GAN, which, you know, to the film's credit, yeah, I mean, that's where you want to go with this kind of stuff. You want to see more of M3GAN, you want to hear more of her witty repartee, and you want to see more of her, you know, smarts and how she's pitted against more than just like, you know, humans that she's got to deceive and kill. Now she's actually got to fight against a robot who can kick her ass. So you do get some pretty cool fights in there. You do get a lot of reprisals from the last film. Like there is another like dance sequence here, which is still pretty fun. I like the fact that they used they used a Battle Tapes song that I really love from that band, so I love hearing that. Not to mention, like, the outfit she has on kind of feels like I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I kind of got like a cross between like Bubblegum Crisis and Armitage a little bit, with just like with like the glasses and like the, you know, maybe it's like the red armor that kind of reminded me of Bubblegum Crisis. But yeah, you get that, and then you also get another singing sequence for M3GAN with a little bit of some snarky comments back from Gemma in this story. So you know, and I know a lot of people are going to hate the film because it's leaning more into sci-fi than horror. I personally don't mind it, because the real draw for this film is not just Amelia brutalizing people, especially since, you know, it's PG-13, so we're not really going to get to see a lot of cool money shots, which we don't. So the film doesn't even like try to like tease that too much, and just lean into like more of like the action and the and just the wry humor of M3GAN. But watching her in this film, like, I still really do like M3GAN as a kind of vicious android character that you know, very much like a unique horror icon. I'm looking forward to seeing what other films she's in, but this film, it kind of feels more like a stress test. I feel like it's not giving M3GAN so much a great story that she can step into and interact with other characters, so much as, you know, let's see how much weight she can carry in this film. Let's see, you know, especially for like a film that has to go through like a lot of like technobabble and setting up a lot of exposition. Let's see how much of M3GAN's charm can get through this film and make you, you know, want to watch it and want to care about it. And there's just enough of that, I feel, where you know, I did care more about, you know, watching M3GAN's cool fight scenes, that I felt like it made up for a lot of problems that it had with underdeveloped characters and just like a little bit of like a messy staging here. Not to mention the severely mixed message that the film gives at the very end about artificial intelligence and how you should like adopt laws around it. I felt like they ended that on way too easy of a platitude, but I think that's like a big problem with the film. Is like it sets up all these bigger ideas, and then kind of just, simplifies him a little bit too much, just so that we can get back into more of like the action and get to more of the witty remarks here. And I don't want to make it sound like, M3GAN is the only, comical character in this. Obviously, everyone here is trying a little bit to, to have their funny lines here. And to their credit, Williams does have her moments where she can bite back on M3GAN. She's very much like the perfect straight man for M3GAN, where it's nice to see her. Violet McGraw, I feel like there needs to be a little bit more for her to do, because she does have a few good lines here and there, and I like how she kind of serves as like this beacon for basically like M3GAN's hope in humanity, to like watch her be like this source of protection, so that M3GAN has something worth fighting for. But I feel like there needs to be way more of that, and it just, like I said, a lot of busy work. Like, I barely even covered Gemma's coworkers here, who they're quirky, they have their moments, but just not enough where I felt like I wanted to like care about them more than just having their little tongue-in-cheek moments of just like having their little like winks at the screen. It just I don't know, like, and it's not like annoying how much they're trying to force comedy in here, or even how much more sci-fi they're trying to force in here. I just think there needs to be more for M3GAN to play off of here, because she's not really getting a lot of support from the other characters. It just feels like she's in her own world, which for a portion of the film, that kind of is the case here. It just kind of feels like M3GAN's the draw. You just, you stay out of her way, and you just let the special effects and Jenna Davis's voice do all the work here. Which, it's understandable, because it pretty much works. It's just, it barely works. I think, it's really testing my faith in how well, M3GAN can go for like another film. I think like as a character, I would love to see more of her, more of what she can do, but M3GAN 2.0 serves as, kind of like a test to see how far she can go with a rather, honestly, when you boil it down, it's a pretty routine like sci-fi thriller plot. And M3GAN, yeah, she still has her charm, but not in a script that gives her a lot more to do, other than just say a few funny lines, do some cool action here, say some snarky and bitchy comments along the way, and that's about it. So yeah, as a sequel, it's not bad, but man, M3GAN, if she's going to be like a sci-fi horror icon for the long haul, she needs a better script than this, especially when it wants to be like very wishy-washy on the topic of AI. So yeah, M3GAN 2.0, it's an okay sequel, but there needs to be a better upgrade in the next film, a much better upgrade for a character who really deserves it.